Hey, hello, folks, and welcome to Counseling 5270 Family Therapy Theories and Methods. My name is Dr. Paul Mayoni, and I'm very happy to be teaching this course. I've taught it several times over the years, and I redesigned this course a few quarters ago. And it's really one of my favorite courses to teach because theory to me is a very interesting subject, and the practical application to the work we do as therapists is a fascinating subject for me as well. Um, I've been, for the past 18 years, dividing my time between practicing marriage and family therapy and teaching marriage and family therapy. I find that mixture to be helpful. The clinical work informs my teaching, and certainly the interaction with learners and the readings informs my clinical work. So for me, it's a really nice balance. And certainly in reviewing various theories and approaches and models to therapy, it keeps me fresh. It keeps the ideas churning within me to better describe the kind of work that I do. And so fortunate to be teaching this course with you. Brief overview of this course. We're going to talk about various approaches to marriage and family therapy. And I think one of the things that we want to impress upon learners in this course, if you haven't already made this shift in understanding, and that is the shift between viewing family therapy as a different modality, like group therapy, individual therapy, couples therapy, family therapy. So there's the modality perspective, which is rather limiting. And then there's the shift in epistemology. And so what I mean by that is the shift in terms of understanding how we view and conceptualize therapeutic problems and their uh, origins and their solutions and what maintains them. And so when you view family therapy as this very significant shift, then a whole different world of understanding and perspective and potential ways of intervening in the lives of our clients opens up for us. So, again, very important because family therapists, when it was originated back in the 50s, the beginning brilliant insights of the founding fathers can pretty much be summed up in this shift in epistemology. So, instead of therapeutic problems being within an individual, and so um, that individual pathology perspective, we need to diagnose and figure out what's wrong with the individual. They said if you conceptualize psychiatric or therapeutic symptoms and look at them in context or conceptualize them from a relational perspective, you see that the same symptoms that can be thought of as individual pathologies, when looked at in context, can be seen to make sense in a very different sort of way. And you can see that the interactions between people and between family members tend to perpetuate and in many instances deepen so-called symptoms. And if you change the interactions or alter the interactions between therapy participants or family members, oftentimes those symptoms fall away as well. So it's really a radical shift in how to perceive problems. And in many ways, the mental health world that we live in today is still very individual pathology oriented. And so we're going to talk more about that shift in epistemology and the broader perspective of seeing family therapy as much more than just a shift in how many people that we're seeing in the room, but really a very different way of understanding problems, how they form, and how to resolve them. I think it's important to keep in mind that theories or models of therapy are not like medications. So you don't say, well, this client or this family is presenting with such and such a problem, and so therefore I think this therapy would work for them. So we don't look at them like pills and we're going to apply the right pill to the right situation. I think that's a very limiting way to understand models of therapy. It's important, I think, to say right off the bat that theories or models of therapy um, usually have a way of making very complex something that's rather simple. If you think about it, a therapeutic encounter is a conversation and a relationship between people. And so many approaches to therapy impose so much onto the therapeutic context in terms of concepts and organizing theories of how problems start and what maintains them. And um, many models of therapy, even family therapy, the early family therapists tend to have pathologizing stories about family. So, with the original family therapist, despite the brilliant shift from individual to more relational viewing, they kept sort of the pathology idea. So, we moved the pathology from individuals and we placed it onto the family. And we had things like structural family therapy and Bowen family systems therapy, experiential therapy. And in many ways, again, despite the radical shift in emphasis from individual to family, they kept the pathology part of things. And so I think it's good to keep in mind that models and approaches to therapy um, are in some ways like maps. We tend to imbue our models and theories with all of the power in therapy and sort of view them as the engine driving the therapeutic train. I think that's a mistake. I think a map can be a handy tool, but it's certainly not the territory or your means of transportation. The territory and the means of transportation, what I would encourage you to view as more significant than the model or approach, is the actual therapeutic encounter and the relationship that you have with your clients. And so, again, I think there's a perception coming into the field that the model or the therapeutic approach is the driving force. And really, I think we want to relegate that to a little bit of a secondary position and realize that therapy models are not truth. Therapy models are not fact. They are their founders and their people that follow those models. Those are a set of ideas that make sense to them uh, as a guide to doing clinical work. Um, so I would encourage you to be critical of these ideas and to let the ones that fit for you stick to you, and the ones that don't make sense, let them bounce off you. I don't think it makes sense necessarily, though, to say that I borrow from models A, B, and C, and so I have kind of an eclectic approach. Certainly, at the level of technique, you can borrow various questions, scaling questions, miracle question, typically associated with solution focused therapy, for example, could be asked from a variety of perspectives. I think what's more important, though, is at the level of assumptions. So, meaning how you view your role as a therapist, how you view clients, how you view questions of health or pathology. What is the role of intervention? At that level, I think your therapy should not change from client to client. But certainly at the level of technique and the types of questions that you ask, you could certainly borrow questions, techniques, homework assignments from a variety of perspectives. However, again, your basic understandings of your role, your perception of clients, how change occurs, theory of change, etc., I think those should stay relatively stable um, once you've explored those assumptions and found the ones that fit best for you. And not that they can't evolve over time as well. I think that's certainly possible and probable, but certainly they shouldn't change from case to case so much. More to say on that. So in this course, we're going to be looking at what we would refer to as deficit approaches. Any approach that looks at some form of deficit or pathology on clients. And we'll also look at some strength-based approaches, approaches that view the therapeutic encounter not as a pathological context where patients get help or a cure or healing necessarily, but from a more collaborative or strength-based perspective. And I think it's great to be versed and aware that both kinds of therapeutic styles and perspectives exist. So, a little more about me. My current therapy practice is with couples now. About 6 years ago, with a few colleagues, we started a program called Couples on the Brink, where we work in a much more intensive format with couples struggling to stay together. so you can view my website to learn a little bit more about my clinical work. Here's a shot of my family. That's my wife Angie and my daughter Hannah, who's 9, and my two sons that just turned 7. That was Mother's Day at a place called Butterfly World here in South Florida. And again, I'm really excited to be in this course with you. I think it's one of the more foundational courses at Capella, and I look forward to learning from you and participating with you in the course. Um, Reply to this message simply stating that you viewed the welcome message, and if anything stood out for you that you want to punctuate, that's good as well. And I look forward to seeing you in the remainder of the course.